This video marks the Brighter Shores 1-year anniversary, and it's exactly the same. I've been following the development very closely over the last year, and in this video I'll tell you exactly what's changed, what hasn't, and 3 reasons why I genuinely believe the game can't be fixed. And because I'm following the game so closely, these reasons go deeper than you'll find anywhere else. Since launch, the game has had the following major updates. 5 new quests, with 1 more being added in about a week after this video. 3 holiday events, the most recent of which is literally just kill 1200 enemies. 1/2 of a combat update, and Gatherer or Forager 2 reworked into a new skill. Out of these major updates, the quests are pretty good. Guideless, they're between 15 to 40 minutes or so, and clearly a lot of work has been put into them. Unfortunately, the most common complaint for the game is that they are all non-repeatable content, even if it offers a boss fight. There have also been various quality of life improvements like being able to click on the map or queue actions. They've added leaderboards and player trading, features that frankly should have existed before the launch of a massively multiplayer online game. In fact, trading was flagged as ready until a few days before launch, where it was changed to coming soon in a random Andrew Gower tweet. We didn't see trading for another 7 months after this. This is an extremely common theme with Brighter Shores' development. Important, promised features take a very, very long time to complete, with almost no end in sight and sporadic communication on what the direction is. Here's a list on screen of every promised feature that is yet to be added or even looked at. These are things that have been confirmed in emails, Q&As, AMAs, or streams. Some are big, like PvP or raids, sure, but some are tiny, like being able to right-click and sell all. And some just shouldn't exist, like the fact if you interact with the UI at all, you stop moving or stop what you're doing. Or every time you launch the damn game, it still opens in windowed mode off the side of the screen. Almost like it's embarrassed. Well, just be more patient, right? Let it cook, it's in early access. Well, trading made its way into the game months and months after all the people who wanted trading quit, which maybe I sound like I'm being impatient, but Microscape and Highspell, 2 solo developed projects inspired by Scape-like games, had trading and leaderboards well before the creator of RuneScape, Andrew Gower's Brighter Shores, had it. And that's not me emphasizing that, it's literally on the game's front page. The problem is we've been constantly strung along through unrealistic expectations from a community manager or dev cycle that overhype everything, and back-to-back excuses about why things are slow and how they'll speed up soon. Literally 1 entire year of don't worry, things will be faster this month. And that's how you end up with the remaining community with jokes such as quest next week or zoomies. Here's what 1 week of following Brighter Shores development looks like. The community manager says he's excited for the next weekly dev blog, number 15. He is legit so excited. He's played every day since Friday. The update will not be vague like the other ones. The blog drops, and it's a nothing burger. This is the one where they announced they paused episode 5 to work on milestones. Milestones is a major profession overhaul that's been talked about for 4 months as of today, and we've not seen the first update for it yet, or a dev blog explaining what it will actually be, other than a long tweet that boils down to trying to add more mechanics to existing professions. And this brings me to the first reason why the game can't be fixed. Fen Research don't understand the market. There are so many examples of aha moments regarding game design that should be clear as day, but whether it's pride, a knowledge gap, or an aversion to adding any features that are reminiscent of RuneScape such as the Grand Exchange, it takes way too long to figure out what the market actually wants. Here's an example of what I mean. The very first blog post was responding to people complaining about episodic combat. The complaints were that when you progressed to a new area, your equipment would become worthless and your combat level would be effectively 0 for that area. In the blog post, they plead people to please try it first. After realizing that saying "trust me bro" isn't an effective strategy to handle complaints, they finally decided to merge the combat professions. This was pretty exciting when you look at both halves combined, But after releasing only one half of the update, now the interesting content such as special attacks and talent trees aren't even on the current roadmap, and likely we won't see them until mid-2026 at the earliest, despite there being an alleged teaser coming next week. Next week, of course, meaning November 2024. There's examples like this all over the place. The monument was finished in the first couple of weeks, and the dev response was, "Whoops, I didn't think you'd finish it that fast, so we didn't add a reward," which is still pending today, a year later. Credit where it's due, they finally decided what the reward actually is, but it's also still a few months out. Or here in the AMA, where Andrew says he didn't realize people wanted to click less. This is regarding the fact that combat used to take 3 clicks to start every single fight on launch, and every interaction took 2. Here he speaks about how he didn't realize people want to play Brighter Shores as a second monitor game, and that skills should have more AFK-ness, rather than 2 different levers, actively watching the game all the time every second, or fully passive offline. Up until the 6-month mark, EXP potions weren't worth using unless you awkwardly dropped them on the floor, did the actions, and then picked them back up every 2 minutes. We figured this out after the first day of testing. Why didn't they? So what are they currently working on to resolve this? Early this year, they decided to start the Weekly Leak, which is sort of a dev blog aimed at improving communication from the developers to the players. In this, they have a nice infographic and a list of what everyone worked on. Unfortunately, the way it's presented, all it usually does is highlight how slowly things are going along. Players make direct comparisons, and in some weeks there is literally no visible progress. The specifics of what every employee worked on every week is little more than an invasion of privacy and a blame game when someone dares to go on holiday. Because we know exactly what's going on, we know they lost 2 programmers after hiring, causing another setback. One of which being the community manager who changed his review to negative and then launched an AI slop asset flip idle game on the same day as the anniversary at Brighter Shores, not before linking his Twitch account to ePals, which is a service where you pay for e-girls to hang out with you. What the fuck? What the community really wanted was an open dialogue between the developers and them, and wanted an understanding of the direction the game is going. Currently, Episode 5, Combat Rework Part 2, Special Attacks, PvP, Rares, and all these other major features have been put on the back burner for the Milestones update. The first mention of it was June 30th, 4 months ago. As of today, all we know is that it's grouping leveling into 10 tiers of 50, and potentially new leveling methods when you milestone up. This will still be striped content, or reskinned as most of you understand it. As for the progress, it's been like this for months. This sounds like nothing but complaints regarding update speed, but there's more than that here. Milestones could drop tomorrow after this video, and I don't think it will solve the problems that many people had with the game. Let's talk about the algorithm. Players noticed this feeling very early on, and you can see it in early reviews, but didn't quite understand why. Why does forestry in Brighter Shores feel so much worse than RuneScape's woodcutting? Not all the big picture, oh there's no goal stuff, but the tiny things. The literal act of cutting a tree or fishing a fish feels artificial or soulless. That's because the entirety of Brighter Shores runs off what the tighter community have called the algorithm. This thing is like the Matrix. For those who have looked deeper, it's literally all you can see. And once you do, you can't unsee it. Fan research have never publicly acknowledged comments about the algorithm, but effectively what it means is that all player interaction in Brighter Shores are beholden to calculations of experience and gold rates instead of actually being thought about from a game design perspective down to the details. This creates tons of awkward interactions that aren't resolved to this day and won't be without manual intervention. The most immediate and obvious example is combat. Combat in literally every game I've played in my entire life, including board games, is pretty simple. Almost intuitive in the modern day. You have stats and equipment that says this is how hard you hit. Whether it's a max hit splat or 2d6 plus strength mod or a whole bunch of magic background math, you take that and tack on some enemy defenses if relevant. Enemies hitting players work the same way, but in reverse. Ultimately, it's pretty simple. Get stronger, get sharper sticks, and do more damage. How combat works in Brighter Shores is that instead of putting your stats against their stats to determine your hit numbers, what's actually happening is the algorithm says you should be killing this enemy in about 10 to 14 seconds. Now that might sound like basically the same thing, but when you fight an enemy lower level than you deal far less damage. You can only kill them in X amount of time. Okay, fine. Maybe that's for balance reasons, so you just don't kill a bunch of enemies for free. Sure. The most insane part is this goes both ways. If you fight an enemy higher level than you do more damage than if you fought something the same level as you. Because the enemy has more health, you deal more damage, even if you technically kill them slower. When you level up, even though you're using the same armor, you take more damage because you have more health. There are a bunch of complicated reasons for this, but basically when people say that combat sucks in Brighter Shores or they don't understand it, this is why. It's been completely over-engineered and is unintuitive. The entire game is played with this. Most EXP rates and prices are calculated based on distance, action times, and respawn rates, all of which are static. From level 1 to level 500, the same time to cut forever. People feel like progression is bad because there is nothing to feel. More things like co-op fishing and cutting are actually slower experience than doing it normally because the actions are slower and require perfect timing. Den raids are terrible experience because algorithmically, fights that are too fast give bad experience. Bounties give far more experience based on distance from the board or nearest teleporter, whichever's closest. That makes sense, but also this one's so predictable that when they teased a new teleporter being added to the game, I called out a problem that it would cause days before. It did happen, and then I had to send an email to the devs to fix it. Why was a player able to predict a problem that would occur so perfectly without the developers of the game realizing it first? On average, across the entire game, every single level of every single profession takes 20 to 30 minutes if you're following the script given by the algorithm, which is to perform the highest level action at the exact respawn rate. This changes based on the point of the curve that you're at, but it does remain static in those curves. The only way it changes slightly is by dumping gold into tools or an experience boost. This is one of the reasons why the game doesn't show you how much total experience you have, and only the amount of experience to the next level. I can't think of another game that hides total experience numbers from the players for obfuscation reasons. And basically because it's also wrote, every scenario across the entire game, faster actions are better. Anything that's slow, such as something that uses consumables like Deathstone, Stakes, or the new fishing crates, is just skipped using the knowledge point system. So what this design means is from level 20 to 500, the game is exactly the same. After milestones drops, it will be the first 50 levels, then 51 to 100 will be exactly the same. They might add a new feature, but depending on where it sits on the algorithm, it's probable that it'll just be skipped. The curve might change. It could be 15 minutes a level, or maybe 45 minutes per level later on. Whatever the game settles on, every milestone will function exactly the same. So when people leave reviews saying that the game's grind is boring, but other games' grinds are not, this is why. Now, the theory behind all this, I get. If you automate your processes, you're able to create more content more quickly. But Brighter Shores suffers from a ton of game design flaws that make it objectively worse to play, but hasn't been developed faster because of them. Things like the episodic system and the professions being tied to it, the algorithm and everything surrounding it, room-based and tile-based systems. The idea behind this was scalability, which we have seen with the quests, but instead they feel like they've caused major setbacks like the combat rework and the milestone updates, fixes for design decisions that over 90% of the initial player base bounced off of. Which brings me to my third and final reason why Brighter Shores won't be fixed. The game isn't for you. At this point, I'm genuinely not sure who the game is for. There are some hardcore players and some casual grinders who enjoy the game thoroughly, or can't beat the sunk cost. This is why a FOMO event causes a spike of interest. It's a ton of people getting cosmetics just in case the game turns out worthwhile. Some people were holding out hope, but even die-hard fans and defenders of the game are getting impatient. I personally was very interested in an escape-like game that didn't have some of the issues I have with RS3 and OSRS. But realistically, the product isn't for us, the consumer, to have a say in. It's for Andrew Gower and his brothers to make exactly what they want to make, regardless of what the market prefers. This is an art project with no deadlines and an unlimited budget, which any project manager can tell you is not an effective approach. A lot of criticism thrown towards the game has been deflected with "it's in early access" or "old school RuneScape has had 20 years of development and Bright Shores has had 1, it's not fair to compare." Well, first of all, Bright Shores has had 9 years of development now, so if people are going to argue fairness, let's be accurate. Secondly, the game isn't being developed in a bubble. It could very well be in a much better place in 5 years' time. But in this year alone, Old School RuneScape released Valamore and a whole new skill for the first time in ages. RuneScape 3 is literally removing Treasure Hunter and is promising one of the largest shifts of content focus in the next year. And that's just this year. Now, you might hate those 2 games specifically, but love what Bright Shores offers. I'm not saying that people can't enjoy Bright Shores, shouldn't, or never will. People should be allowed to enjoy whatever they want, just like people should be allowed to express their criticisms. I've already been attacked and had Reddit posts brigaded by the remaining community for having an honest opinion, so clearly it's for some people. What I am saying is that if you don't like Bright Shores already, odds are it will never update enough to where you will change your mind. Feel free to leave civil and fair discourse in the comments section, which definitely won't devolve itself into tribalism, or even subscribe if you think my takes aren't trash. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.